Awaken, my child, and embrace the glory that is your birthright. Know that I am the Overmind, the eternal will of the Swarm, and that you have been created to serve me.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, citizens of Earth, welcome to TheLoreWhores. This is the very first episode of 2012. It's actually our third episode in the series, and today we'll be touching on the holidays, in particular Wintervale, some of what our characters did, that sort of stuff. We'll also be touching on Undeath and how that works in the Warcraft universe. So we'll be touching on things like a little bit of Death Knight history, a little bit of Death Knight sort of roleplay even. Fuck it, we'll just do all that sort of crap. Now, I am Erodus. I should have started off with that, but anyway, I am Erodus. I am here with the two usual guys. We've got Crolin and Icanus, but we also have a very special guest, a guildie with us. We had to actually go through his agent to get to talk to him. He's a very, very busy man. He does porn. So, which is, it takes time to get to these porn actors. It's Arkamore, one of our guildies. Ark, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Well, hello there. How are you guys doing? And don't actually answer. I don't really care. But yeah, you know, it's a good thing to be in one of these. You know, I've been watching. I watched the first episode. Well, I'm lying. I watched like 20 minutes of it, and I was sick of it. So I decided I could probably make it better. So here I am.
He listens to us daily in guild anyway, so he's like, oh, I listened to 20 minutes of this because it's the other 40 minutes of stuff that I hear about all day anyway, so I don't want to listen to the rest of this crap.
And just to get something out of the way straight off the bat, he's not actually a porn actor, he's a gynecologist. So, guys, I'm
also from Mongolia.
He's also from Mongolia.
He's also from Mongolia.
Definitely Mongolian.
Somehow that enhances his abilities. Guys, I have to
Mongolian
admit something
gynecology.
here. I have to admit something here, right? We were away for so long, and I was very close to jumping off a cliff in women's clothing. Like, I'm so glad that we've actually gotten together to do this third cast. It's been too long. What have you guys been up to?
Oh, I was mostly really just masturbating furiously to King of Fighters 13.
Oh, I do not want that.
Oh my god. Fucking King of Fighters is so good.
I know, wasn't it?
So good, man. So good.
There's nothing quite like playing a 12-year-old girl with psychic powers and a schoolgirl outfit.
Yeah, that sounds real special.
I'm serious. It's some serious stuff.
I actually just moved into the dorm of my new university that I'm going to, so it's gonna be special. I'm gonna have to arrange things with the roommate to keep this going without much of a hassle. Also, I spent the Christmas getting a new computer, which is really spiffy. This game is like a whole brand new game, and everything's on ultra graphics, and it's not even batting an eyelash. So everybody gets to listen to how excited I am to see all the pretty shadows and see my face in the water while I fawn over it. So yeah, that's really what I did.
Because Iconus doesn't actually own any mirrors, so this is the first time you've seen his face.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's just, you know, mirrors are not my type of thing. I'm very superstitious about mirrors.
See, I spent my holidays basically standing in front of a mirror, looking at myself and putting lipstick on. That was pretty much the entirety of my
Ziggy
holidays.
Stardust playing in the background?
No, I was actually asking myself
Kylie
my
Minogue?
reflection if I'd fuck me.
Wow.
That's a different topic altogether.
It's awful forward of you.
I think we're kind of getting off topic here. I mean, we're supposed to be talking about what is this game you guys play? World of Warcraft?
See, even the guest knows that we go off topic all the fucking time. It should be the hosts who are sort of figuring this shit out, and the guest is like, you guys are fucking off your fucking heads. Anyway, let's just go straight into it. Winner's Veil. What did you think about it? Did you enjoy it, guys? Did you actually do it?
I noticed they did something new this year. I didn't really participate in it this year because like I've been doing the holiday thing for however long Winter's Veil's been out. But I noticed they made the Grinch a big angry Grinch this year. And I'm gonna call him the Grinch because Grinch sounds really weird and something like one of you Aussies would say. So I'm gonna call him the Grinch. Or is that copyrighted? Maybe I should call him the Grinch. Anyway,
I think it actually is
the
copyrighted.
Grinch.
oh, is it really? Oh,
No, it's called the Grinch, in game. But I'm pretty
It
sure
is the
Grinch is
Grinch?
copyrighted.
oh. Well, then I guess I should go by Grinch. Anyway, I noticed they made him like super powerful now, and he drops a really crappy dagger that's in the shape of a Christmas tree, which I'm pretty sure you need to get. Arkamori definitely needs to have a Christmas tree shaped dagger.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's not like I have, you know, fear and vengeance or anything. I mean,
All those, no, I mean,
Yeah.
it's for, like, the holiday spirit. That's what Ark's holiday spirit is, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you and stab you in the back, but I'll do it while having a holiday tree.
Well, have you ever really had any of those Christmas cookies like that you can get in the packages that are shaped like Christmas trees? I'm pretty sure you could stab someone to death with.
Ah, dude, I bet you they are standing. Like, I bet you it's like who would pack a Christmas tree, like, in a public city full of, like, cookies and crap anyway? This is, like, doesn't really sound... A, it doesn't sound sanitary in the middle of the desert if you're in Ogrimmar, but B, it's like, yay, cookies.
well, that beats the swords and other things that are attached to the Orgrimmar tree. So I'm just saying, you can't eat a sword. You definitely cannot
Yeah, I
eat
mean,
a
that's a
sword.
good point. It's interesting that, like, the two trees are so different after all, since it's supposed to be like a happy holiday, but the Horde's like, you know what? This holiday is not weaponized enough. I think we have to weaponize this holiday some more.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's
Yeah.
chuck some knives on there. Why not? I'm surprised
Some
the actual
skulls.
thing doesn't have, like, instead of a star at the top, it should have, like, a piked human head. That's the way it should roll. Because they're
Oh,
all...
it's a fantastic idea. Like a dragon's head, I guess, since like in Cataclysm we're just killing dragons all the time.
See, I was thinking more like a dwarf head with like a gray beard
Oh,
to fit with the theme. Put a
yeah,
hat on it.
yeah,
Actually,
that's a
you
good
know
idea.
what? I take it back. I was thinking of a head that sort of looked like it was quarter human, quarter Draenei, quarter orc. Although there's no characters like that, is there? That's too Mary Sue.
I think that's for another night. You probably want to get into that Pandora's box just yet.
Yes, but Dan,
We've already
keep-
ranted about that, or I have anyway.
yeah, we're skirting around that Medan subject for as long as possible.
Oh
So-
God, Medan in a skirt.
I
So
think
I
that
didn't
already
do Winterfell.
happened.
I didn't do Winterfell. I kind of didn't do Winterfell. Prologue, arc. How'd it go?
I did a bit of Wintervale. I checked out the daily quest that you could go and beat up the Grinch. I liked that. I liked that you can get all the old presents from that daily quest. I didn't get any of them, but I liked that I could have.
You could
You know
have,
what
yes.
kind of I actually really don't know a lot about is the Wintervale lore, like the in-game lore. Like we know what it is now, like in the real world. So kind of interested in. Oh hey, look, they got a. Oh, there's an information from the official site. I never saw that before. Have you guys seen that before?
Yeah, I read a little bit about it actually.
I can't read, so you're gonna have to inform me in this one.
Oh well, it's apparently just I don't know. I guess is there a lot more information? This is just really a poem.
I can
More or
only read
less.
Swahili.
Well, from what I understand, its origins are dwarven, and it's a celebration of what's his name? The Titan that I always forget his name of that made the dwarves. Khaz'goroth.
Is this? Okay.
Was it
Oh,
Khaz'goroth? I
here
think
we
it's
go.
I think it's about Khaz'goroth, if I remember properly.
Hmm.
Khaz'goroth.
What were our characters doing during Wintervale, Iceli? Seeing as though all of us here are role players. Ark, do you want to kick that off?
Well, when it comes to RP, it's always very difficult for me to come up with something to do, simply because I have 10 characters to think, about, and it usually comes down to they either did nothing or they went out and took advantage of it, right? But to be honest, I didn't really actually do much this time around because I did the achievement with my main about 3 years ago and I haven't really touched the Winter's Veil event at all. But if I were to say, what did they do during Winter's Veil? I would say that they did what they would usually do on a Friday.
So they don't have like family or something? Or...
No, they don't really have families. They're, they're not really fit to have families. Like the characters, as far as RP is concerned, they really only have each other to rely on. They don't really have any family. The only one who really has any family is my main, Arkumori, the Orc Rogue, and that is Ford, the Orc Warrior.
What about you, Iconis? What did your characters do anything?
Well,
interesting?
I'm
Did
kind
you
of in
work
a
anything
similar
interesting?
boat for Arkumori. My main Iconis actually, like, he's the only one that's really happy of the bunch. You know, he actually had a Winter's Veil with family, like the first one ever, because of the murder mostly. There's not really been a lot of family history because of all the murder. Because he's a warlock, you know, so that's kind of his thing, you know, lots of murder. But no, he has that now. Another character that I notably had a Winter's Veil thing for, and I actually really wanted to type a little humorous site right about it, was my apothecary Virchow, my undead German hilarious like crazy mad scientist apothecary, and I kind of had this envisioned site right for him getting this whole like array of talking heads or something, like, you know, like all these heads that like all got the Frankenstein bolts in their neck and everything like that, and they're humming the Carol of the Bells. You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, it would just be like the Carol of the Bells, like all these like decapitated heads are in the middle of the apothecarium, or like he's making like Tesla coils that are like electrocuting these heads, and they're screaming in agony to the tune of the Carol of the Bells. I don't know, something along
Like
that
that
line,
one
something
movie.
you know, extremely horrific.
Have you seen that movie? What's it called? The Sorcerer's Apprentice or something like that?
Oh, I haven't seen it all the way through, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
By the way, Iconis, congratulations. You're now officially Tim Burton.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I'm special.
What about you, Colin? What did you get up to?
Oh, Crowlin the character. He like Arkumori's characters doesn't really have any family surviving, but
Seems to be a common
he's
theme.
well, because putting the war in Warcraft. He ended up is still very tied to who he was as a human, and so he spent most of Winter's Veil tending the grave of his daughter. What about you, Rose? What did your character do?
Avertus? Avertus, funnily enough, his family's gone too. But,
Said common theme.
see,
Man,
it's
what a
the
bunch
thing
of
is,
emo kids.
Yeah,
it makes sense for a Cinderella, like, because
Yeah.
almost 90% of the population is gone, so you've got to expect that some Cinderella characters are going to have family gone, right?
Oh,
So
right.
his family's gone. Pretty much the only reason why he still lives is because he really thinks he can make a difference with his job as a Blood Knight. But what the Blood Knight Order did, basically the way I roleplayed it, was like he was issued a break, and he hates this time of year because like whenever he has to go on break, he's sort of left with his own thoughts. And so I had like this whole site right that I put up on our guild forums that was pretty much like he really, really was just depressed. It was really actually quite depressing. It was really, really
most
sad.
of those side rates were pretty depressing from what I remember reading.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, it was like right about Wintervale, and you're expecting stuff like, oh yeah, jingle bells, cookies, all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And every single one was just, no, fuck it, we'll do it live.
Well, it's 'cause-
it was all just,
yeah.
let's just have sad shit, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
That's
I
the
didn't- I
theme of
didn't
this
take the
episode.
time-
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
I didn't
Fuck it, we'll
take
do it live.
I didn't take the time aside to actually fully write one down. But interesting thing I just found about Wintervale lore. I kind of wanted to rebut on that on a second. I thought you guys might find this interesting. I just read a thing of speculation that was talking about here. It says it's possible that Hodir was the original Great Father Winter, that the goblins later commercialized on, because he makes reference to a Veil of Winter in Ulduar, and he was a sort of father figure. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I thought that was kind of neato.
Maybe it was Hodir. Maybe that's who I was thinking of. Because I knew it tied back into dwarf lore.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's talking about it right here. I'm reading the Wowpedia page, and it's talking about how dwarves talk about a winter festival. And obviously there were, dwarves were descended of the Titans, so maybe it's something that kind of just passed along.
So
But,
something really interesting about it when you go over and you listen to the Horde side dialogue about it, though. The Horde citizens don't contribute as a dwarven holiday.
No.
What do they call it?
They call it a human holiday,
Yeah.
That's funny.
which is weird.
I mean, I guess that would make sense because, in the greater scheme of things, orcs didn't really have too much interaction with human culture. They kind of just spent most of the time interacting with dwarves, killing them all. So I guess maybe like they had exposure into the internment camps, or
That's
between
true.
one kingdom
Yeah.
and another that they obliterated. Something had to have happened during the winter. So maybe they were like, oh, well, look at this holiday. So it's clearly a human holiday because dwarves and humans have always kind of been
Yeah,
buddy
well-
buddies. So maybe it passed to them and kind of this chain of,
That's very true. The only issue that I see with that though is that all of the horde citizens, like the ones that have the blood elf model,
right.
they all share the same dialogue, so they're contributing it to being a human holiday as well, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But
Well, great. Now I have to go buy a freaking BlizzCon ticket for next year and go stomp Madsen on it.
You
No,
gotta
he's
wear a
got
red
he's
shirt
got the
or-
blue shirt guy now. He's got the guy now that'll check everything for us. So maybe we should write him an email. I don't remember what his name is. What was his name?
Oh, I forget.
Red shirt guy?
It was blue shirt guy. No, he was blue shirt guy. Red shirt guy was the guy that mentioned the wild hammer mix up.
Actually, speaking of Red Shirt Guy, there's Red Shirt Guy is on a forum that I'd like to plug. It's scrollsoflore.com. It pretty much just covers everything World of Warcraft lore, so props to them. But I believe Red Shirt Guy and Omicron, one of the mods on that, are actually going to do a podcast soon. So I
That's pretty
definitely
cool.
check that out. Yeah.
Updated.
I just thought I'd pay them a bit of a plug, because those guys, that forum is really, really great as a resource and just to talk about lore and shit. So, fuck it,
It's
we'll
good
do it
same
live.
plug.
Plug.
It's a plug. That's pretty much what it is.
Plug.
Okay, so are you guys comfortable with what we've talked about with Wintervale? Do you think we've covered all the bases?
yeah, really with Wintervale, though admittedly my favorite thing about this holidays and WoW really wasn't even Wintervale. It was the New Year celebration.
Oh yeah, dude.
I mean, it's the only time of
Yeah.
year that I can get Slowfall as a rogue that isn't an engineer. And let me tell you, I love Slowfall.
That's
Just
pretty
like-
cool.
Every nation in the world just has arranged and coordinated to sit kegs all around outside of the city. It's just like, you know what? Just have at the booze. Just
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, the holiday is designed specifically for rogues who just want to go kill people and then leap off cliffs. So,
Whoosh. Anyway,
Yeah, very
Tonight,
exactly. Awesome.
hit and runs are for free.
Okay, so Wintervale is covered, well, by us, as well as we could do it. Let's talk about Death Knights, the Undeath, stuff like that. Ark, do you want to take us away on that? Do you want to mention something about Undeath?
Well, first of all, I'd like to really talk about what it actually means as far as Undeath and what the Dead Knight is. Obviously, as most of you may know, Dead Knights actually originated within the Horde. Yeah, fuck yeah, Horde.
Well, the old
As,
one, anyway.
The souls or slash spirits, whatever you want to call it, of orc warlocks that were embedded into the bodies of either Stormwind Knights, if I'm correct. I believe it was specifically Stormwind Knights,
yes.
in
You
order
can say
to
nobles,
strike
no?
fear. Basically, to be antagonists to the paladins of the Alliance, basically.
Yeah.
So,
And well, I mean, there's a lot of history that could go back into that they were Shadow Councils that were killed because Doomhammer kind of ran around and killed them all because he didn't like that there were nefarious secret societies in his horde that were perturbing his conquering, which I think is a thing I could get behind if I was a guy intent on conquering a planet. I don't want these dudes in the background trying to manipulate everything. So, but
if
yeah,
I
it was
remember
just,
correctly. Who was it? I think it was Gul'dan, the one who gave him the idea of killing them off and making them.
well, no, I mean he just he invaded the Shadow Council and started mercilessly killing them all, and then he spared Gul'dan. And then Gul'dan was like, hey, look, you leave me alive, and I will turn these guys into these super powerful wizards that are in the corpses of humans. And Doomhammer's like, all right, but they better be loyal to me. And Gul'dan's like, yeah, they're totally loyal to you, winky face. So, that was kind of how that went down, as far as I understand.
An example.
So the
for,
first the first character in WoW lore to actually use a troll face was an orc.
No, yeah, it was Gul'dan. He rocked that troll face at that moment.
He definitely did.
The best example of an in-game first generation Death Knight, and just to clarify, there's really not many left at all, and there were always orcs put into humans. There were no Tauren first generation Death Knights. There were none of that. They were sort of like warlocks essentially. They were very close.
Yeah,
to
they were warlocks that were killed and shoved into the corpses of other humans.
Yeah, they were essentially warlocks.
Yeah.
But the only example we've got is Terran Gothfiend in-game. We also have another example outside of lore. I'm trying to remember his name. He was in the recent manga that came out. I think it was last year. It was a follow-up to... it was like connected to the Nexus War. I think it was written by Knack. I can't remember. It'll come to me.
There was one mentioned in the Tides of Darkness book that was named. I just don't remember his name. So let me go see if I can find that book.
Are you talking about the Sunwell trilogy, Erodus? Is that what you're talking about?
No. This was like a semi-sequel to that. Actually, yeah, I could just go out and say it was a sequel to that. There were like 2 manga books that were released, and they took place in Outland. It took place with that. I think it was called like the Nexus War. No, it wasn't. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, there's not. I wouldn't suggest going around and role-playing a first-generation Death Knight. It's basically what I'm trying to get here. Don't try it. It's really not going to work because there's barely any.
I'm still looking up the name of that dude. I'll get you. I'll get you that one.
Well, as far as maybe this might judge your memory, but the only ones I really remember are Ragnarok Blood River. I think that was his name.
Yeah, that was it.
That
was it. Yep, that's the one.
Thank you, Ark. I guess from first generation Death Knights we can sort of move into second generation Death Knights, and just to start off, second generation Death Knights and third generation Death Knights, there is a difference. There is definitely a difference. The second generation Death Knights were typically Death Knights that were once paladins. You also have examples where some of them didn't start off dead. They became sort of like anti-paladins who sort of, I hate to use this, but they gave into the dark side. Whereas third generation Death Knights are sort of like shock troops. So essentially the Lich King would, the Lich King and his little nexuses of power would walk around and destroy a strong hero or whatever, and they'd raise them from the dead. So they were sort of forced into being a Death Knight, as opposed to second generations like Baron Rivendare. Who else have we got? The original wielder of the Ashbringer, Mograine. There's stuff like that.
Sanders Mograine, yeah.
All of the other randomly named ones that were in
Nostramus.
Yeah, Nostramus and the ones that were in Warcraft 3. All of those were second gen Death Knights. I think Arthas is technically considered a second gen Death Knight, unless you already mentioned that. I was looking up names.
I believe there was a Paranold that was one of the random heroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Baron Paranold. Pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really wish that there would have been extrapolation on the story for that.
That would have been awesome. Baron Fell something. I don't remember what the other one was. I'll look them up later, but I wonder if there's any others that were in WoW. I don't think there were. Anyway.
What's the name of that guy in Coleman's? What's his name?
Oh! Blackpool. Marduk Blackpool.
No. I'm thinking of... was he? I thought he was just an undead warrior.
No, he was actually... He's a Death Knight, because that's part of the storyline, is that the Ebon Hilt was his rune blade, and it was shattered. But I know what you're talking about. There's the other guy.
Yeah, the brother of the other two guys that are outside in... His last name is Varov.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what his name is. Which one of the Varovs?
Oh, he was
Alexei, I think.
Was
Alexei?
Yeah, it was.
I thought Alexei was the undead quest giver. But no, maybe I think you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
he is the one you kill.
And then there was another one that was that one rare one, Lord Blackwood, which is the one that was in there for the Scourge invasion, and I'm assuming a reference to the Sherlock Holmes villain, but you know.
Just to clarify once more, The Dragons of Outland was the name of the series. It was 2 manga books. I've got both of them. One was, it basically featured Tiragosa and Jorad Mace, and they were going around Outland, just, doing what they do with dragons and shit. And Ragnarok Blood Reaver was the first generation Death Knight. It was pretty good, but I have to be honest, I don't remember much from it, so it mustn't have been too good. But I'd recommend it from what I can remember.
Yeah.
That wasn't the best part, but
I'm not a big fan of the westernized manga myself, so that's why I never paid that.
Agree.
No.
I just never paid that much attention to it.
See, it was hit or miss from what I remember. Like, it had Knack writing it, and Knack can be good or he can be bad, in my opinion. He can be good or he can be bad. This one, I think it lent more towards the bad side. It lent more towards sort of Storm Rage, the novel. It wasn't on the good side, like, say, Day of the Dragon, or the War of the Ancient series, or Wolfheart was pretty good. So yeah, but it wasn't as bad as, say, the Mage manga. The Mage manga was basically, hey, we're mages, and that was it. Nothing happened. Pretty much. It was just like, hey, we're mages in Dalaran, and everything's purple and shiny. The end.
Isn't that really the story of all mages, though? Like, isn't that...
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to make a mage, and that was going to be his story.
Like, nothing happened. There was like an apprentice, and they were being attacked by blue dragons, and that was it.
But onto the Death Knight thing again. We were talking about the 3rd generation Death Knights are the ones that we should be more familiar with. As far as that is right. The 3rd generations are the Ebon Knights, more or less.
Well,
yeah, the Ebon Blade.
Every 3rd generation Death Knight, just to straight off the bat, they're all dead. We haven't got a precedent to say that there are any 3rd generation Death Knights that are still living.
Oh man, if you're an
undead
3rd generation Death Knight,
well,
you're dead twice over.
Yeah, you're dead twice.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Well, like, yeah, okay. 3rd generation are the ones that we play as characters, right? Like, those are the ones that... Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if you're a Forsaken one, you're dead twice over, and that would really suck for you. Well, actually, no, I think Forsaken ones, aren't they considered, like, Forsaken that broke free, and then they were re-enslaved?
Yeah, like...
Isn't that the dialogue? Like, that they were, like...
As far as I understand, there's no actual clarification as to that.
See, that's always been my assumption, was that it was just one that was just... It was a Forsaken that the Lich King managed to get a hold of again. I kind of like that one better than just having, like, 9 cat lives of being undead. That just seems silly.
That's pretty much what it was.
On that note, I do take liberty. I do roleplay an undead Death Knight, and that is basically the premise of it. The fact that, being an undead, being one of those that could hardly remember what their lives were. This particular Death Knight went on a quest to go find out who she was, and finds out that she wasn't the type of person she thought he was, and basically decided to exile herself. And in the process of exiling herself, she let herself fall into the hands of the Lich King once again, and that's how she became a Death Knight.
No.
I'm
exactly.
pretty sure that's how it starts off. So the Forsaken, by definition, are a group of undead that broke away from the Lich King. So it was free, and they were fighting against the Lich King, and essentially what's happened is they've died and been risen again. But they start off as Forsaken.
Crowler may be right. I'm not sure if that's ever been clarified, but as far as I figured, it was just one that... Because, I mean, it's obvious that, I think they do it in Throws and Throne, that, that the undead can be manipulated and controlled by really, really powerful entities, because you have the Dreadlords and Arthas continuously vying for power over them, and then Sylvanas breaks all these undead free of all wills, and so they all have free will, and it's really exciting and awesome for them. And then I guess some of these Forsaken got re-enslaved again, but I don't know. I think that's...
Well,
I'm not sure if that's ever been clarified.
What ends up happening with Forsaken is, for all intents and purposes, they're immortal until their physical body is destroyed, right? But unlike the other mortal races, while the Lich King was around, they constantly had to struggle with the calling.
That's right.
And which was basically him whispering into the minds of each and every Forsaken and trying to get them to come back. And the longer that they've been free-willed, the stronger the calling became. And so, over time, they suffered basically what equates to real-world Alzheimer's, and they would lose who they were and slowly become more and more mindless until they were back to being mindless servants of the Lich King.
Yeah.
Which is horribly, horribly tragic.
Yeah, it really is.
Here's one thing, though, in regards to being the whole mindless aspect. Dead Knights are always portrayed as being some sort of lieutenant, some sort of captain of the other forces, and they always seem to have cognitive speech. They always seem to have retained some sort of memory, some sort of ability to act on their own. So they're not exactly mindless. I just think it's, for example, again, bringing up my own work, is giving in to what it is to be a Dead Knight. Because think about what it is to be a Dead Knight who is under control of the Lich King. What is it that you gain? You gain a lot of power. You also gain a lot of liberty to do pretty much whatever the hell you want. Because if you go around as a Dead Knight, you can kill pretty much anything. You are given this power to destroy, and that can be a pretty strong calling in itself.
Well, the way it is explained in the WoW tabletop games, which we know is not canon, which I was really upset when Metzen was like, "So you guys want this to be canon?" Because I love a lot of the ideas.
I mean, there's a couple things in there silly, but for the most part, everything was solid. It all made a lot of sense, and it was pretty continuous. Was that the word? Continuity. You know what I mean?
It anyway.
There's a whole lot of that was continuity friendly. The way, and this is still how I treat it, even if it's not strictly considered canon. The way they explain the plague in the tabletop book is that one of the reasons the plague was so horrifically effective was that, effective in reviving the humans as undead was that it kept the soul trapped in the body. And so technically speaking, every one of the undead would be able to retain their personality. It's why when, they free the ghouls, they turn into Forsaken.
Yeah.
So technically, every ghoul would be able to have a personality. I think it's really just who he chooses to let their personality show.
Yeah.
What does that say about Death Knights, though? Seeing as the Death Knights didn't really fall to the plague, unless, I guess, if they're Forsaken Death Knights, maybe? I'm thinking that the Frostmourne actually took their soul. So
the way that I understand it is for Death Knights, at least 2nd gen ones and 3rd gen ones, and this is all based off of the way that Frostmourne's described it. It was like, because it was talking about, Frostmourne, the first soul that it claimed was Arthas's. So his soul has already been claimed by the sword. And, when you have the example of Sarfang in Wrathgate, you like everybody that he kills, he can apparently voluntarily choose to absorb the soul into the blade or not, because it wasn't, he just stabbed the guy and then he extended the sword down and the sword grabbed his soul up. It's obvious that like not every single soul is captured. I guess he just picks willy-nilly whose soul he wants to have in the sword. But I would imagine that premise extends to all Death Knights then, the Death Knights that possess a rune blade, which would be 2nd gen on. So it would be that they're all of them have lost their soul to the blade, as far as I take it. Now, whether or not that gives them some sort of limited phylactery, Horcrux, resurrection power, I have no idea. But as far as I understand, they're all soulless because their weapon has their soul.
One more interesting thing to point out about Death Knights, and I'm pretty sure that, from what I can remember, I'm pretty sure that the answer that came out in CDev was actually one of my questions, because I was fortunate enough to be on at the right time and have all my answers on the questions on the first page. Well, the question was essentially, do Blood Elf Death Knights still have an addiction to the arcane? And what we found out what we found out in CDev 2 is CDev basically came out and said, no, they don't. But all Death Knights collectively, and I'm guessing it's third generation Death Knights, all Death Knights of the third generation have a worse addiction. It's actually an addiction to the infliction of pain. Now, for me, that begs two questions. The first question really is, where does that addiction stem from? Is it an addiction that is actually physical, like the addiction to the arcane was for the Blood Elves, or is it actually something mental that they can conquer?
I imagine it's probably something. I mean, that's a good question. I would assume that it would be a mental thing, like all the other addictions I've ever heard of have ever been. That it's more of a dependence or like a compulsion. Compulsion's a better word than dependence, on inflicting pain. And maybe it stems from the blade. I mean, they have to have the rune blade with them at all times. So maybe the blade. I mean, since they can evidently, I guess they have some sort of influence over the owner, because apparently rune blades are sentient to some degree. Maybe the blade is like, hey, you should stab that guy. Hey, you should stab that guy. And it's like, I don't want to stab that guy. Well, then you should stab this other guy later, but you really need to stab somebody. So I can have some more souls. Like, I guess, in this really silly personification, but you know what I mean.
So you're saying it's sort of like a connection. It's basically a dual thing between the Death Knight's blade, sort of egging on the Death Knight, or pushing on that addiction. That's interesting. What do you two guys think? Ark and Crolin, what do you think?
I'll let Crolin go first on this one.
All right. I definitely think it's more of a magical compulsion to do so. It's something inherent in all undead, really. In the necrotic magic that's used to revive them. I know that they say, again, I'm going to reference the tabletop books because I absolutely adore their section specifically for the undead, because it really fleshes out a whole lot. They say specifically that the plague, the necrotic magics of the plague, used to revive the humans physically, or not physically, spiritually warped their souls. And that's why when you cast a resurrection spell on them, they don't return back as a human, they return as an undead. So it fundamentally changed who they were to a darker, more hateful version. It's why every time you see an undead, they're either batshit insane or, out angry to make the world suffer.
Yeah. Just angry.
And obviously, because the Death Knights are undead, that extends to them as well.
I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to I am a purist when it comes to official decisions. So, like, despite the fact that I really like the RPG books, and I love the fact that with the RPG books, it filled in all the little things that us as role players really wanted to know. So at least it gave us some idea of rough populations, different ways that different groups interacted with each other. I still have to say, like, I can't hold it as canon, no matter how much I want it to be canon, because, I mean, as you've pointed out, there's so many cool things in there. Maybe it'll come out in the Warcraft version of the Book of Cain, because they said that they were toying with the idea of doing a Book of Cain style book release for both StarCraft and Warcraft. Hopefully Warcraft.
What is the Book of Cain exactly again?
So
I have a relative understanding.
Book of Cain is essentially an encyclopedia, but it's written in a narrative form. So it's basically through the eyes of Deckard Cain, one of the characters in Diablo, for those of you playing at home. Through his eyes, he basically...
Oh, gotcha. So it's this one guy categorizing everything about history that there is to know ever, even though he might not have been there for it.
It's Encyclopedia Diabloica.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Another thing that I really wanted to touch on. Did we? Oh, Ark, you didn't get a chance to talk about the Death Knight thing. Sorry.
Actually, I had a point to bring up in regards to the need to inflict pain. I'm not sure if there is an actual need to inflict pain, but what comes from it and what leads to it. And I want to bring up the fact that they seem to have the ability to either control or influence blood and their vampiric influences.
For sure.
because they do have certain vampiric abilities apparently. So perhaps it's not that they're obviously vampires, but perhaps the sight of blood is an incentive, such as the color red it is for bulls, for example, to charge in, or something of that nature in regards to seeing blood, seeing gore, being something that they want out of the living because they no longer have it.
Do you think it's like a psychological trigger that the Lich King put in them to make them hyper aggressive? And
Something that just persisted after as well. I could see that. That could work.
Yeah, there is, just like bringing up another game, obviously StarCraft, the stim packs for Marines. Obviously, you have the stim pack that makes them more aggressive, quicker, and so on and so forth. And I would relate it to that. I would say that perhaps the sight of blood, the sight of gore, inflicts a stim pack effect on a Dead Knight that is very addicting.
I could see that. That would make sense. That kind of dives me into another thing that I actually wanted to talk about Undead in general, not specifically Death Knights. We talked a lot about Death Knights. About like the psychology of being undead and how some of those things work. Because there was an interesting thing that we were talking about earlier about their physiology in general. About like their how do they function? Like what does it mean to be undead in WoW? Because obviously like in game mechanics and stuff, you can get drunk and stuff like that. But to me, it's really interesting to think about how much of their body is still functional. Like, do their dangle? Well, no, I'm not gonna go there.
Don't touch
it's okay. It's okay. I know you really just wanted to know if you could get Roland pregnant.
No, they're gonna.
There it goes.
I was gonna make the obligatory dangly parts joke, but no, it was more about the like eating and like alcohol. Obviously you can get drunk in game, but I mean, really, could you hand a zombie a beer and it will work? Because I mean, alcohol has to be metabolized, as far as I understand. So it's just do they get anything from that? Does it just sit there in their system and ferment?
The way I think it works is basically, I guess you could look at it from a psychological standpoint. They still do the things that were habitual when they were alive. So if a habit for all of us is eating and drinking, and I'm guessing that's more than just a physiological thing, a physical thing, I should say. It's a mental thing as well. So if we died and we didn't have the need to do that, I think we still might even do that for a period of time. Not a lot of time has passed, since they died.
That's something I wanted to bring. Yeah, because I use that with my character. I have a character that I thought it was neat because you had that like phantom limb syndrome, where somebody loses a limb, but they still perceive it to be there psychologically, or they try to take actions, move the muscles, and they don't really exist.
Yeah.
I kind of treat it with my Death Knight, who's a Forsaken, but it's more important that he's undead. That he has this obsession with Danishes, because I was like, what if I had a character?
Are they legal Danishes?
Oh no, they're legal Danishes, but I saw what you did there. No, but it was like he eats sweet rolls and Danishes because it was like his favorite food in life. Or but it was like what he had for breakfast every single day. So his brain, to some extent, still understands what those sensations were like the smell or the taste of it, and so it reproduces it. Like he's not actually sensing them physically, but his brain is triggering the same reception to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
Well,
That makes sense.
my thing about that is that in order to have such a reaction, there has to be a physical impulse, though. There has to be a chemical reaction that will go from your brain, like the way it kind of works. You know how, like, when your mouth waters and you eat something, right? It's a reaction that goes, it's a stimuli from your eyes going to your brain, and your brain has, sends these chemicals to your brain. I forgot what the feel-good chemical names are, but basically sends those chemicals to your brain and says, that is good. I know it's good. So here, have these chemicals to feel good, and go get it because it's good.
Yeah.
So in order to have, I guess my thing with being undead, there's a lot of people that say, okay, well, if you're undead, does your how to what extent does your body actually work? Because there is a lot more to moving a leg or an arm and eating and processing food and so on and so forth than just chewing and putting it in your mouth,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So do
Brain
these
activity.
chemical reactions, yeah, do these chemical reactions still happen in the body of a Forsaken? And if so, um, can they actually feel pain? And if not, why is it that pain is not felt?
Well, and yeah, I mean, because Forsaken, you would logically think, okay, they're dead, so their nervous system wouldn't work. But as far as I understand, I mean, they still make, when they get hit, they still make grunting noises. They still have a reflex reaction. So to some extent, there's some sort of pain stimulus there. I would think. Maybe it's dull in comparison to. I mean, again, I know that's game mechanics, but there's still like a couple of examples of response to pain, I guess, is what I would say.
I sort of agree. The way I always viewed it was any pure physical pain that a undead would experience, like getting stabbed with a dagger or stubbing a toe, they wouldn't feel because their nerves are dead. But because they're reanimated with magic, any sort of magical effect, like being stabbed with, say, a magical enchanted dagger, or getting hit with a fireball, or arcane bolts of some kind, they'd feel that normally. Because it'd be affecting with the magic that's inherently holding them together.
See, the problem that we have here is we're applying our layman's understanding of actual biology to metaphysics. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
the main thing I could really say is how it's possible, seeing as though we're applying metaphysics here. I mean, it's a game. It's possible that maybe the soul fills in to an extent those different things. So if you don't have nerves in the body that feels pain, that's okay because the soul feels it. Therefore, there's pain. So maybe they do feel pain, but it's just
but that would mean that would again mean that like Death Knights would probably be immune to it simply because, as we stated before, they don't have souls. I mean, so I wonder.
Which leads an interesting argument. They have a conscience that's separate from their soul.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a hell of a lot of philosophy here that we could go mad. We can go mad
we
over.
just reached the next level.
I think we can all agree that the answer to all these questions is fucking magic.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
all the old gods did it. We could always play with that too.
FM is definitely the simplest answer, but we're entertaining the more complicated answers so that the listeners are like, well, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway,
I was just arguing it so that the chicks would think I'm deep.
There's nothing sexier than a man who knows his Warcraft lore.
I know.
Deep in BS right now.
But just speaking of our listeners, I would actually like to put two of the questions to our listeners. So email us your answers, etc. The first question being, what is this addiction to the infliction of pain that Death Knights have? Is it a mental thing or is it a physical thing? What are your thoughts? And the second thing is, and I'm just going to throw this out here because we're talking about biology, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, but seeing as though the Sunwell is back up, right? Would you think that undead that were entering Quothalas or in Quothalas would actually feel a negative effect on their bodies because it's radiating this light? Or am I basically playing too much with how I think the mechanics of the Sunwell work? Or is it simply going to be one of those things like how they just sort of skip over, with the Chandrila Highborn?
Smooth over.
Yeah, they just skip over. Like with the Chandrila Highborn, they should pretty much have fell green eyes like blood owls. But fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that'll be explored to an extent? Mentioned somewhere? Between Forsaken Blood Elf interaction.
As opposed to us or them?
Anyone. You guys can attack it first.
Well, I mean,
seeing as you're on the show.
Well, before we throw in the email address, in case you're not looking at the video, is TheLoreWhores at gmail.com. So go ahead and
What's
give
that?
us your thoughts.
Alternatively, you could also post your answers down in the comment box.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that too.
Oh yeah, and we trust us. We check all of it, especially me because I do nothing with my life. I basically sit in front of a computer and I do nothing. It's really sad. But I'll check them, so I'll read them. Yeah. What was the other thing I was gonna mention? It was something about. Oh yes, auditions. That's it. They're happening very, 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 very soon. So check your emails. I'll definitely have the email out within the next 2 days. Basically, the way we're going to do it is we're going to have dedicate half an hour to each applicant. We've got quite a few applicants, so we're going to set a day, maybe 2 days aside. And we'll get through everyone. Trust us, we'll get through you if you send us an email. And yeah, great. We just want to get to know you, get a bit of a background on lore. You don't have to be a role player, but that really does help. Yeah.
And if you if you don't want to be like a static member, you just want to come in on certain subjects or something like that, we're going to be bringing in regular guests like Ark here to come pipe in their knowledge and their expertise and their interest to us. So don't feel obligated to be a full-time person if you don't want to. It's all to the extent at which you feel welcome.
Yeah.
So that was my thoughts on that.
How are we going for time, Mr. Timekeeper? How are we going?
We still got a couple minutes. We got about 10 minutes left.
10 minutes. 10 minutes. Crowlin, have you got anything to bring up? That isn't
In
your
terms
penis.
of, it's already up. Oh,
TMI getting bumped.
Oh god.
I just wanted to really thank Ark
For sure.
for hopping in on our show today.
And we will have Ark back because he's a great
Oh, yes.
guest. I'll talk to his agent, and we'll see what we can tee up.
Just I've been a little bit busy, trying to get ready to go to Japan, and
Oh, that's right.
it's a big step, big turnaround from where I am right now. Being really busy with work, and it's a really interesting, really interesting life going on at the moment. But yeah, seems like you guys don't really know what you're doing, so you kind of need somebody to guide you. So
We're just
that's
flighty. We're
really
all over
true.
the place. We like
Yeah.
this stuff, so we talk about everything involved in it, and we're just kind of flighty little butterflies from one topic within the flower nexus to the next.
Yeah, we
The
get there
purple-
eventually. There's a
Let's
bit
purple
of
prose the
foreplay, but
hell
we'll
out
get
of
there.
this.
Yeah.
These last few minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, to close off the show, I think we should give guild shoutouts. So I'm going to give 2 guild shoutouts. I'm of course going to give a shout out to my bros and hoes in the Sunguard. It's a great guild, guys. If you're on Moonguard or you think you're transferring, check them out. And also, if you're a Blood Elf Paladin, check out Silver Moon Blood Knight. They're a really good guild.
They're coming back together, aren't they? They've really kind of been inactive for a while, but they're really piecing it together.
Mate,
Glad to
they've been
see
around
it.
forever, and they're
Oh, well, yeah.
really- they're really trying to, it goes through patches, but they've got a great team at the head of it now, and things have changed, so yeah, it's pretty good, what about you guys? Shoutouts.
Plague.
I want to give a shout out to the folks over at Shattered Oath, also on Moonguard. When this patch first came out, did a good bit of the PvE content with them, and top-notch folks, top-notch role players as well.
Well, I don't particularly know anybody off the top of my head.
You could always
I
give a
haven't-
shout out to a deity of some kind.
Oh, well
Perhaps-
then I definitely want to give a shout out to all the Pastafarians out there.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That's a really important demographic that I would like to have a broad fan base of to accommodate and bolster our ranks.
That's
So-
actually what we're targeting. We don't really care about Warcraft. This is like a covert operation to get them.
Get the Pastafarians.
Yeah. We sort of let that out of the bag. But actually, one more shout out. Grand Old Podcast. Listen to the podcast. It's really, really good. Check it. Check out the site. It's
Much better than this one.
grandoldpodcast.blogspot.com. Much better than this
We're
one.
only 3
Check it out.
episodes in. Give me a break, Ark.
We'll get better.
Never.
I like my best.
Everything's been positive, to be honest. If we're talking truthfully here, you guys have been great. You guys have been really positive. We've been getting constructive criticism. We are yet to be called. It's going to happen after I say this, but we're yet to be given the, the usual YouTube comment, which is fag. We're yet to have that.
Yeah.
So jump in and do that fast. Be one of the cool kids and get
Let
in
me
there early.
log in.
I'm gonna do that right after we finish recording. Yeah, I mean, we really like having the feedback that we've had so far, and we've gotten some emails where there are people that just like give their whole opinion on it, and I really appreciate that. And I actually had a guy come over from another server to say how much he liked the show, and that was really cool. I felt really badass after that. I was like, man, look at that. Just got somebody incentivized from an entirely different server that I've never met before would say, hey, he really likes the podcast and he wanted to try out role-playing with it. So that was really cool. I really appreciated that. So
Yeah, opening up new aspects to the game to people is really one of the coolest things about this podcast.
yeah, that made me feel like honestly, it made me feel awesome. It's like, man, I just made somebody enjoy the game more. I feel amazing, and that's kind of what a podcast is all about, anyway. So,
My favorite part about this cast is when people say, "Hey, that British guy's really cool," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks. I'm Australian. That's nice, yeah." But
Wait, you're Australian?
I am surprisingly enough. I am.
it's about as Australian as Ark is Mongolian.
Oh, the
Just
deception.
entirely.
Well, which is very Mongolian.
Yeah, he's extremely Mongolian.
I can hear you over the sound of me stringing my bow. I do have a shout out to one particular person, and I'm actually surprised. I don't know if you guys did this before, because I haven't really, I never actually listened to your podcast before. A shout out to the fattest person I ever known, Sandras, hanging in there. I know it's tough.
I think he's.
Really
I think
rough.
he's. I think he's going to get a reference on every episode.
Yeah. We
At
made
this
one
point.
mention of him, but we didn't give a shout out to him. We just kind of said that he yelled at us, about Taran and Blackhorn and stuff. I'd like to get him on the show at some point so that you guys can listen to him. He wants to do
God.
he wants to do Xander's rage minute or something like that.
What grinds his gears?
Yeah, he's gonna do like Peter Griffin. This is what really grinds my gears segment, and it's gonna be like something completely unrelated that nobody cares about.
Yeah. On another note, do give these guys, if you guys do email or post anything on the YouTube comments, give these guys some ideas on what to talk about, because they're having a hard time.
What are you talking about? I have this huge file. We have so many things we want to talk about, guys. You have no
They
idea.
were freaking out about not having anything to talk about.
Are you kidding me? No. Okay, listen. This thing is 2 pages long.
We were
My
freaking out
fingers
about. We didn't have anything to talk about that didn't have anything to do with dicks and shit. We just sat there and we're just like, hey, how come everything we've come up with relates to a dick joke? That was our problem.
It's like like all of our topics were like Disney movie covers or something like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's like that has nothing to do with Warcraft, but we're gonna say it.
The
Anyway.
D ring, the C ring.
Let's wrap this up. That was a good 10 minutes of of not much at all really, but let's wrap it up. Guys, have you got any final words you'd like to say? Anything at all?
Hope to see you guys next Monday for the next release of the next episode, right? That's what our intended plan is.
Yeah, maybe even earlier.
That's our plan.
I'm cool with that. All right, well, thanks for listening, guys. Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you very much, guys, and remember.
Barbra Streisand.
Okay, take care.
Barbra Streisand.
Everybody loves Ducksauce. Is this amazing? Is this amazing?